to be a jet pilot.
I want to be a jet pilot. I want to be a jet pilot.
Hi, kids. I'm Colonel Russ Stromberg, but you can call me Colonel Russ. I'm going to be your guide today as we learn and see a lot about jet airplanes, the people who fix them, and the pilots who fly them. An air show is a great place to see jets and meet jet pilots. We're here at Fighter Town, USA, home of Top Gun. They've got a great air show going on this weekend. Let's go take a look. At air shows, you can see all types of planes. Stunt planes, fighter jets, planes with no engines, propeller planes, tiny jets, and giant planes. Planes so big that people can have a picnic under the wing. Remember the Warthog and Lion King? Well, this is the A-10, and the Air Force pilots call it the Warthog because they think it's so ugly. The cool thing about air shows is you can actually sit in the cockpit of planes and work the controls just like a pilot. You can talk to real jet pilots and find out what inspired them to fly.
Ever since I can remember, I've always enjoyed being around airplanes since I was a young boy. And I have an older brother who also flies military jets. And so I was around him as he went through his training and saw what great excitement it was, what a lot of fun, and I decided that that's what I wanted to do as well.
Well, actually, when I was a cadet at the Air Force Academy, I decided that I'd like to become a pilot. So from that point on, that was my focus. I got a degree in engineering, and that led to me becoming a pilot.
I decided to become a jet pilot when I was 12 years old, after seeing a television program on jets and pilots, much like this one. Flying jets looked to be challenging and exciting. So after high school, I went to college at the United States Naval Academy and then on to flight school. And let me tell you, flying jets is more fun than I had ever dreamed. Today, I'm going to show my friends Carolyn, Danny, and you just how exciting it can be to be a jet pilot.
Which jets do you fly, Colonel Russ?
Well, Carolyn, I've flown lots of jets, but the one I think is the most fun to fly is the Harrier jump jet, because it can do things that other jets cannot.
What can a Harrier do that other jets can't?
The Harrier is the only jet that can take off and land like a helicopter. You see, Danny, it has special nozzles on its side that allow it to do things that other jets can't do.
Don't jets need long runways to take off and land?
Yes, most jets do need a long runway to take off. And most jets need a long runway to land. But the Harrier is different. Unlike other jets that need a long runway to take off, the Harrier can take off vertically, straight up, without a runway. The Harrier can take off from the woods. A Harrier can take off from temporary airfields. A Harrier can take off from roads. A Harrier can take off from aircraft carriers.
So, a Harrier doesn't need a long runway to land.
That's correct. And that's another reason why it's unlike any other jet. A Harrier can land in the woods. A Harrier can land on a road. A Harrier can land on a temporary airfield. A Harrier can land on a ship.
I thought only helicopters can land without a runway.
The Harrier is a special jet that can fly like a helicopter. It can hover and turn around just like a helicopter. That's because it has a special way of directing its engine power to hover and turn. These are called nozzles, and there's two on each side. They have an equal amount of thrust that comes out of each nozzle. So when the pilot is flying along, the nozzles are in this position, and all the thrust goes that way, pushing him through the sky, right? Now, when he wants to slow down, what happens is he moves a lever in the cockpit, and these nozzles will slowly come down, and he just slows down. When they get down to here, all the thrust is going straight down, so he can just kind of sit in a hover. That's how he does it. And then when he's done hovering, and he wants to accelerate out, what he does is he pushes the nozzles back, and flies away. There's a lot that needs to be done before the jet and the pilot are ready to go fly. This is my squadron, the Black Sheep Squadron, which is one of the most famous Marine Corps jet fighter squadrons in the world. We're based in Yuma, Arizona. Here, the jets and pilots get ready to fly. The squadron has 20 Harrier jets. The people in the squadron are like a football team. They must all work together, and each person's job is very important. This squadron has 30 pilots, plus over 150 people whose job it is to fix the jets and make sure they are ready to fly.
What are all these people for?
Danny, a jet airplane is a very complex aircraft, which requires many people working together to make sure that it's safe for flight. Some jobs are small, like checking the tires. Some jobs are big and take many people. One really big job on the Harrier is changing the engine. First, the mechanics disconnect all the fuel lines, then they hook up a crane which is used to lift the wing off the aircraft.
Why do you need to take off the wing?
You know, Carolyn, just like you have to open the hood on your car to get to its engine, you have to take the wing off the Harrier to get to its engine.
Do they really work that fast?
No, we just sped up the film. This usually takes about a half an hour. With the wing off, the rest of the plane can also be fixed. The engine from the Harrier is very big and weighs over 5,000 pounds. This is because a big engine is needed in order for the aircraft to hover and take off or land vertically. While some mechanics are working on the engine, others work on the inside of the aircraft, which is called the engine bay. Inside the nose of the plane is a radar or a TV camera. Once the mechanics have fixed the jet, they tow it out to the flight line.
What are they doing?
They're cleaning the runway. You see, the front of a jet engine is like a huge vacuum cleaner, which can suck up small objects like rocks. So one of the last things the maintenance crew does before the pilot takes off is to make sure that the runway is clean of any little objects that might damage the engine.
Jets must use a lot of gas. Where do they get it?
There are no gas stations for jets. Instead, we bring the gas station to the jet. At the squadron base, we use fuel trucks. The gas hose plugs into the side of the airplane. When you operate in the woods or from roads, we use special fuel trucks to bring the gas to the jet. On ships, gas is stored below the deck. The people that fuel the jet wear special purple suits. Sailors call these people grapes. The grapes bring the fuel hose to the jet.
How far can you fly on a tank of gas?
Most jets can go about 1,000 miles on a tank of gas. But we can go further if we get gas in the air.
How can you possibly get gas in the air?
We call it aerial refueling. We have two types of flying gas stations, sort of like full service or self-service. Navy and Marine Corps jets use self-service. The flying gas station, called a tanker, puts out a hose with a basket on the end. The pilot flies up and plugs his refueling hose into the basket. Gas is pumped from the tanker into the jet.
How long does it take to get a fill up?
Refueling doesn't take long because the gas is pumped at almost 200 gallons a minute. When the jet is full, the pilots unplug from the basket, pull away, and continue on their mission.
How much gas can a tanker hold?
A big tanker can hold enough fuel to fill 20 jets. That's more than most swimming pools could hold. The Air Force uses a full-service gas station. Gas is delivered to the jet through a boom. The pilot flies up behind the tanker, and the boom operator flies the boom into a special refueling receptacle on the top of the jet. And gas is pumped through the tanker's boom into the jet.
How far can you fly?
With aerial refueling, jets can fly over 5,000 miles without landing. Some jets have even flown around the world without stopping to land.
Where do pilots learn to fly?
Pilots go to a special school called flight school to learn how to fly. At flight school, student pilots spend many hours in a classroom learning things about jets and how to fly them. For example, pilots always need to know where they're going.
Do they use maps?
They learn how to make special maps so they will always get to where they want to go and won't get lost. They also learn to use computers which can help the pilot to make his map.
What kind of plane did you learn to fly in?
Jet training begins with small jets. This T-37 is the airplane I learned to fly in. Just like in driver's education, the instructor sits beside the student pilot, and each has a complete set of controls to fly the airplane.
Over here, I have a throttle. It's similar to the gas pedal in your car. All I have to do is push it forward, and it makes the engine speed up or pull it back. And it's just like pushing the gas pedal down or lifting the gas pedal up. This right here in the middle is called the joystick. That allows me to pull back on the stick and let the aircraft climb, or push forward on the stick and the aircraft will descend. What I have on my shoulders here are the shoulder harnesses. They're similar to the seat belts in your car. Instead of having to click it once, like you do in your car though, I have to click it 6 times because I have these two here, which are the cords that go up and hold on to my parachute if I ever have to eject. I've got 2 lap belts that hold me tight into the seat. I also have a leg restraint that straps around each leg that hold my legs down to the floor when I'm flying upside down.
This is a Harrier flight simulator. It's used to teach pilots how to fly Harriers.
Wow, that looks like a cool video game. A really, really big video game.
Yes, a flight simulator is like a really big and really expensive video game. It costs millions of dollars. The flight instructor sits in a control room where they use many big computers to control the simulator and help teach the pilots to fly. The simulator cockpit is exactly like the cockpit in a real Harrier. The student pilot uses the simulator to practice everything they will do when they actually fly the jet. The simulator uses computer-generated images to recreate the experience of flying. In the simulator, the student pilot learns how to take off. You learn how to turn. You learn how to fire rockets and guns. You learn how to land.
Do pilots need to wear special equipment to fly a jet?
Yes. First, there's the G-suit. The G-suit helps the pilot make hard turns when he's going fast. The torso harness attaches the pilot to his seat belts and the parachute in the cockpit. The pilot wears a special vest over the torso harness that has an oxygen mask to help him breathe at high altitude. Inside the oxygen mask is a microphone, which the pilot uses to talk on the radio.
What if that radio stops working?
The vest has another small radio for emergencies. The pilot wears a helmet which cuts out the loud jet noise. The helmet also has a set of headphones so he can listen to the radio. The helmet also has a visor for sunny days. Altogether, the pilot's equipment weighs over 40 pounds.
What's that pilot doing?
Just like you check your car before a long trip, the pilot checks his plane before he flies.
Who is that guy?
He's called a plane captain. His job is to make sure that the jet is ready for the pilot to fly. The pilot taxis out, then takes off. Today's mission is to teach new Harrier pilots how to land and take off from aircraft carriers. An aircraft carrier is like an airfield on the water. It takes a lot of training to land and take off from an aircraft carrier because they move at over 20 miles an hour. That's why the Marines have built a practice airfield in the desert, which is the exact size and shape of a real aircraft carrier. Here, pilots can safely practice their takeoff and landings. They also practice hovering. Here's one lowering its landing gear while hovering.
How much practice do pilots need before they can go to a real aircraft carrier?
Carolyn, most pilots practice 20 takeoffs and landings before they go to the real ship.
Does every pilot have their own jet?
No, Danny. Because there's more pilots than jets, they have to share. Each pilot gets to fly 3 or 4 days a week.
How fast do jets fly?
Some jets fly over 2,000 miles an hour, but most fly about 1,000 miles an hour.
How high can a Harrier hover?
While it can hover almost 200 feet above the ground, Harrier pilots use their control nozzles to do some amazing things when they fly.
How high do you fly?
Some jets have flown right up to the edge of outer space, but most jets fly to about 50,000 feet, which is almost 10 miles above the Earth.
Is there a bathroom in a jet?
No, Danny. Like when you go on a long car trip, you need to go before you take off and not drink a lot of water while you're flying.
Are there women jet pilots?
There sure are, Carolyn. Today, women are flying jets in all the services, and they're doing a great job.
Jets are really loud.
Yes, jet engines are loud. All ground crew members must protect their ears by wearing special headgear that looks like big headphones. We use special hand signals to communicate between the ground crew and the pilot.
Check the flight controls. Check. Check your engine. Ready for launch. Cleared for launch.
Now that you know a little more about what it takes to become a pilot, the best place to see all the different types of jets and see all the things they can do is by going to an air show. Air shows take place all over the country throughout the year. Some of the jets you see at air shows are used for many different things. This is a DC-10. Commercial airliners use it to haul people around the country. The Air Force uses it to carry cargo and fuel. You can see training planes, stunt airplanes, and the F-14 Tomcat, which is the Navy's top fighter and the jet Tom Cruise flew in the movie Top Gun, which was filmed right here at Miramar Naval Air Station, Fightertown, USA. The F-14 can fly over 2,000 miles an hour, or twice the speed of sound. It's the only fighter jet that can move its wings while flying. The pilot moves the wings straight out when the F-14 is taking off or landing. The pilot moves the wings back so it can go faster. The final attraction of today's air show is the Blue Angels, the Navy's precision flight demonstration team. Only the best Navy and Marine Corps jet pilots get to become Blue Angels. Here, the pilot and ground crew are using hand signals to check the flight controls before takeoff. Blue Angels fly the Navy and Marine Corps' newest aircraft, the F-18 Hornet. The F-18 can fly over 1.5 times the speed of sound and fly as high as 50,000 feet, which is almost 2 miles higher than most airliners. The Blue Angels fly in very tight formation at speeds up to 500 miles an hour, with less than 3 feet between jets. This takes years of practice and a lot of skill. The Blue Angels fly at speeds of over 500 miles an hour, less than 100 feet above the ground. Angels are always exciting to watch and represent everything that's challenging and fun about being a jet pilot. Boy, we learned a lot today. We learned about jet airplanes, the people who fix them, and the men and women who fly them, the jet pilots.
We went to an air show and saw different kinds of jets. We learned that Harriers can take off and land without a runway. We saw that jets need to be fixed, just like cars. Yeah, many people are part of the flight team. You have to go to school to be a jet pilot. Pilots get to train in small jets and cool simulators. Jet pilots wear lots of special equipment. It takes a lot of practice to be a jet pilot.
Like all pilots, I've got a lot of work to do to get ready for tomorrow's operations. But stay in school, study hard, and someday we'll see you on the flight line.